This episode is brought to you by the Rainbow Sports Group. The Rainbow Sports Group are a leading football infrastructure platform looking to discover and nurture the best young African talent. They not only provide academies to develop the football talent, but also provide high school programs and mentoring of the pressures and pitfalls of professional football from top pros still embedded in the game. Rainbow's infrastructure allows players to be placed in a global football ecosystem with the full support throughout their career. For more information, visit rainbow-sports.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to episode 9 of the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. Episodes are released on Sunday evenings, and we hope you'll join us every week. On today's podcast, Glenn chats about the weekend highlights in the Premier League with a host of fine performances and loads of changes at the top. We also look ahead to next weekend's game between Belgium and England in the important Nations League match in Brussels. But first, let's look back to the weekend's action.
Here are the headlines.
Southampton kept their excellent run going with a 2-0 home win over Newcastle. Chelsea hit 4 against Sheffield United, who remain at the foot of the table without a win this season. Manchester United won 3-1 at Everton, and Crystal Palace put 4 past Leeds, with West Ham beating Fulham 1-0, the visitors missing a last-minute penalty in a costly defeat. There were also wins for Spurs and Leicester. Manchester City and Liverpool drew 1-1, and Brighton Burnley ended 0-0. Well, Glenn, a very open league table still. 3 lead changes this weekend alone, with Southampton, Spurs and finally Leicester all at the top of the table for a while. Leicester stay there, but it's very tight at the top at the moment.
It certainly does, to have 3 in one day. Could have been 4, actually, Chris, if Liverpool had got the second goal against City. Liverpool would have then gone to the top of the league. But I think that is actually summing up the Premier League in a nutshell this season. And we spoke about this early on in the season after 2 or 3 games. Yeah. And when you look back at it already, after 8 games, I don't think I've ever known this, where there's been 6 different leaders. I think we've had Villa, Everton, we've had Southampton, we've got Leicester, we've got Tottenham and Liverpool. 6 teams after only 8 games have had the lead in the Premier League, and it's going to be. I do think that there's the top 6 clubs will probably end up there, but who knows? I think there's a lot of clubs that are having their moment in the sun, and Southampton have been brilliant since they lost to Tottenham 5-2. They've been outstanding, and Hasenhüttl has just been incredible how he's got his team together and how they're playing. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and even without Danny Ings there the other day, on Friday, they were excellent, playing with a lot of freedom. Organisation, so credit goes to everyone there, because they showed what they could do last year when they lost 9-0 at home to Leicester. They responded tremendously well then, and they're up there by credit, because they've deserved it. They've played some super stuff. So it was, they started it all off at the weekend, and then there's been a jostling situation. My club, Tottenham, was there for an hour and a half. But it's a good sign. For Tottenham's point of view, it's a very good sign. And it is typical Jose Mourinho. He's done it with every club he's ever managed. Spurs would always have to play well to win normally. That's been the history of Tottenham. Well, they don't have to under Jose. They don't need to be at their very best. I'm not saying they were disastrous. But West Brom away, they should have played probably a little bit better. But they can play average and win, and that's what Jose's got the mentality going in there. And Hobier is that sort of player in midfield that drives the team on. And then you've got the front three of Bale, Son and Kane yet again has come up trumps with the winner. And what a season, what a player he is at the moment. There's no better player in the Premier League or even in Europe at the moment. There really isn't, with the assists that he's got and with the goal scoring that he just keeps, his records are incredible. They really are. He's on 201 goals for Tottenham now in such a short period of time.
How many did you score for Tottenham in your period? Do you know?
140
something, was it?
I think it was about, it was 100 and something like that, 30, I think. Not sure, but I was a lot deeper.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was going to say for midfield, it was a lot of goals.
But but Harry at the moment, has just got this lovely vein of confidence, and what you'll see players go through their careers, where they go onto a pitch and you just feel that you're going through a spell where you're untouchable. And I think De Bruyne, players like that, and Salah had it a few years ago, and I can see Harry Kane has got that magical little ingredients called, it's like a drug really, it's called confidence. And when you get it and you feel inspired, nothing can stop you. You have that feeling.
Can Tottenham win the league? I mean, a lot of Tottenham fans are going to be asking, they're going to be waiting for you to tell them if they can or not. I mean, the answer is yes, they can win the league, but have they just got enough bottle? Have they got enough squad to win it?
Well, I think this is why, I think can they win something this year? Yes, I think they can. I'll be very positive on that. Whether they're going to win the league, it looks like it could be. I mean, we still look at Liverpool and Man City. They still are, in my opinion, as football teams, a long way ahead of Tottenham, a long way ahead of other teams. They really are. But and any given week in this Premier League, even Liverpool, who are champions, Man City, who are a wonderful football side, even those will get beat. They'll get points taken off them. So it's really an intriguing season. Tottenham, if they're there or thereabouts in March, April, then they will have a chance. But I'm not sure we're good enough to in other parts of the pitch. I think that the top three positions, yes, they're as good as anyone in the league and maybe in Europe. Son, Bale, Kane, even with Moura coming on, and Vinicius came on as well. He nearly got the winner, didn't he? He looks a very good player as well. So we've got enough firepower. It's just in the other areas of the pitch where I think maybe we lack that consistency.
And will the managers be thinking like you are, all the different managers in the top, maybe 9 or 10 even at this stage, thinking, look, if we really concentrate and we really put our best foot forward and really go for it, this year we have the best chance of winning the league. The likes of Southampton, Everton, maybe Wolves even, Tottenham, Leicester, are the managers sort of sitting there thinking, in January, if I could just buy the extra player, persuade the chairman to put his hand in his pocket, maybe we could actually do this. We saw it with Leicester a few years ago. That was unbelievable then. It was a one-off, we thought. Maybe not a one-off any longer. Let me
sort of tell you an analogy of really how I see this season. I think this is a Grand National. And I think that there are so many horses in this race that actually at this moment in time, you could say could win the National. You can never tell who's going to win the National. Always say that there's always a favourite and there's always an outsider, but in between, you can't tell me that who's going to. And this is like, there's so many hurdles to overcome, so many teams and clubs and injuries and a lot of games in a small period of time. These are all sort of hurdles, if you like, that horses have to go over in the National. Now, if you're still standing in the National and you've got 3 fences to go and you've got 2 furlongs to go, you're in the hunt. You're well and truly in the hunt, and I think that's where the clubs will all be looking at. They'll all be looking at, hang on a minute, we go into April, are we still in the hunt? Are we still, capable of winning this tournament and this Premier League this year? And that's how I see it. It's going to be a long, hard season. They're playing without crowds at the moment. Let's pray to God that we're hoping by the end of the season that we'll be playing in front of crowds. So there's a lot of permutations, a lot of hurdles to overcome. So let's look at it as a Grand National, and we'll report back later on. Every week, every hurdle they're hitting the top of the hurdle. Some clubs, there's a lot of excitement, and some jockeys are falling off maybe, and some will fall off and fall by the wayside. But I think it's the consistency, that old nutshell again, that will will be the one that wins the league. It normally is. The ones that get a little bit good fortune with injuries, with now penalty decisions or referee decisions with VAR. There's a multitude of things going on that could put you in pole position. But that's how I'm going to see it this season, and I think it's quite a good analogy.
You're a man after my own heart, comparing the football to the horse race and my two loves of life. My goodness me, where will we go next?
I wouldn't know what end of a horse is the best, the back or the front, to be honest. But
I pretend to know, but I don't think I really do. But there we go. You try, don't you? So Southampton, 3 wins in a row. And Hasenhüttl, you've got to say, he did it, as you said, 9-0 against Leicester. To come back from that was already tough enough.
Yeah.
5-2 at home to Tottenham, who were outplayed them. They've come back from that as well. So fair play to him. Terrific stuff. I've got to mention this Leeds goal that was disallowed at Crystal Palace. Bamford putting his arm out to show where he wants the ball. Your arm can't be offside, surely. You can't score with your arm. How on earth are we going to get over this VAR discussion, Glenn?
Well, there's no arm in it, is there?
You're on form tonight, I tell you.
No, I mean, it really is ridiculous. And I've seen a few penalties as well given, where I'm thinking, what a player's got to do now. They've got to keep their arm. They've got to run with their arms now behind their back. And it's getting farcical, and it's sad, really. We're laughing about it, but it is sad. I think it's going to ruin the game if they don't do something about it. But no, he's pointing where he wants the ball, and whether it's his arm, shirt sleeve bit that's listen, you can't score with your arm, and now they're saying, well, it's not handball on the shirt sleeve. These things are, these have got to be ironed out. They've got to come to some understanding. I've said it all along. We've got to learn from cricket. Even if the umpire says it's not out and it's fractionally hitting the top of the bounds, they go with the umpire's decision on field. When it's that tight and it's fractions, we have to give these opportunities to the referee on there and the linesman who hasn't seen it, because they won't see it. It's that fractional. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So you go with the on-field decision, and it'll be better for the, it'll be a betterment for the game. I've got to say, whoever team you are, it doesn't matter. Football, we want the right and correct decisions. Of course we do, but it's becoming ridiculous how these decisions are being made.
Penalties. You mentioned you were at the West Ham Fulham game on Saturday evening. What can you say about Adebola Lookman? I'd imagine he's changing his name to Look Away as we speak right now.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. What a penalty. I mean, you've taken penalties. You've seen a lot of penalties. Have you ever seen one as tame as that? I won't say it was bad, just tame. And when you look at the timing of it, 91st minute, just smack it into the back of the net.
That's exactly what I said on commentary. I actually squealed. I couldn't believe it. I was almost speechless. I mean, there's a player and a team that have fought for 90 plus minutes. They have put a stint in. They got their first win last week. They've put in a really good performance. West Ham might have won it earlier in the game. They've hit the bar, they've hit the post. They've put them under pressure, but they have defended with their lives, and then suddenly they get an opportunity to get a point out of it. And the manager, Scotty Parker, must have been absolutely fuming. What he comes on and says on television is not what I'm sure he was saying to himself and his staff, and maybe to the player, and maybe to the players. I don't know. Nowadays it looks like young players can't take a bit of a rollicking at times, but I just didn't understand the timing of it. To try the Panenka is one thing, but if you're 3-0 up, I could understand. It wasn't my style of taking penalties. It was positivity, get it on that spot as quick as possible, and really almost forcing the ball in the back of the net. That was always my mentality on that. To try the little dinky Panenka at a time like that, when the team are just, I saw Mitrovic fall on his back as he saw him do it. I saw players drop to their knees from Fulham. I just don't understand. I don't think. Listen, I'm not sure, Chris, that he would have been standing over that ball, waiting for the whistle, thinking, "I'm going to dink the keeper. This is what I'm going to do." I think at the last second, maybe it looked like his instinct was to do it.
Right.
And Fabianski it was almost comical in the sense of that he's actually gone to the floor, Fabianski. And still had time to get up and take the ball with his left hand. It was unbelievable. And then his face afterwards, I did feel for him, but also there was a professional head on. I was feeling more for Scotty Parker, I've got to say, having been a manager, but being in them circumstances, my word, you know, God forbid that they go down by 1 point or 2 points. You know, it's going to be a tough time for him, and you know, the young man's got to learn from that. I'm not so sure he'll be taking the next one for Fulham. Let's put it that way.
Cool. You get a good price on that in the betting shops, and he would. Fabianski actually had to wait for the ball to hit to get there. He moved, he come back, and he didn't even catch the ball. He brought it down on his chest in a kind of, look, I'm as embarrassed as you are, mate. Let's just pretend this didn't happen. Oh dear.
I thought I'd seen it all in football, actually, but you know, it was the timing. You know, there's nothing wrong in doing. If you score them goals, you look great. You know, I've seen Pirlo score them, and Panenka, when he first did it, that was. I remember watching it as a kid. That was a shock. I had to double take. I had to, you know, think to myself, what did he do there? Yeah. It was outstanding. But you've got to score. Gary Lineker tried it. You know, to break. He could have broken Bobby Charlton's record, and even he tried it, and that wasn't Gary's game at all. He'll be the first to admit that, and I think he mentioned that on Match of the Day. They very kindly brought up the replay for him to have to endure as well. So they should have done.
Jermaine Jean has sorted it out that the replay was there.
Exactly.
So Fulham lost. That they've had that one win. They're down near the bottom. One of your old teams though, Chelsea, are in great form. 4-1 against Sheffield United. Hakim Ziyech, wow. I know we said he was going to be a good player, but he really, for 35 million or whatever he cost, he's going to be fantastic for the Blues. And you were right all along. You said they would come good, and we've only had 8 games, and those fans are just so impatient these days, aren't they?
Well, I just think they're the best team at the moment. I mean, City are a lovely football side, and Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool have played. You know, they haven't hit their straps yet, Liverpool, and they're still getting good results. But to look at Chelsea over the last 4, 5, 6 games, the free-flowing football that they've got, and now with Thiago Silva at the back there and Mendy in goal. The only blemish was the goal, obviously, that went in. But, you know, if you concede a goal, I'm putting my manager's head on, you want to keep clean sheets. And Frank Lampard would have loved to have kept another clean sheet. But if you're going to concede one when you're 4-0 up, or you're 3-0 up at the time, whatever it was. When you win a game 4-1, you know, if the concession goes in and it's a 1-1 and you lose 2 points on it, then that hurts you. But, you know, that's not going to hurt. They'll go again, but they've built the confidence up defensively that was lacking there for Chelsea. But my word, going forward, they've got so many options, and Ziyech is absolutely brilliant. His vision, his ability on his left foot to plant the ball, you know, on a sixpence. There's some exciting players in this Premier League this year. There really are. He looks like he's got a goal in him. He's dangerous from set plays, puts it on the money. He creates so much going forward. But then you've got people making movement ahead of him. You know, you've got Werner, and you've got, you know, Abraham likes to make them runs, and Havertz wasn't even there. He's had COVID. So, you know, Mount, all these players, you know, you've Hudson-Odoi we're not even mentioning now. He's got to work very, very hard to get into that Chelsea team. There's talent coming out of that team, left, right and centre, you know, and they seem to be getting it right at the back. Defensively, young Reece James is just getting better and better with the ball and defensively. No, all in all, Chilwell has settled in. He looks as if he's played for Chelsea. I know he's played in blue all his life with Leicester. He looks like he's just played 10 years at Chelsea. And he's been absolutely brilliant. since he's come to Chelsea, and you can understand why Frank wanted him and paid the money and waited for him, and he's had a little knock to overcome. So, the Chelsea do look very, very good, very strong, and again, Thiago Silva looks a class act, and he's come in with a terrific header again, beautiful flighted corner, and a great little touch on it, and that near post area, and he's off and running because he is dangerous from set plays as well. So at the moment, everything's rosy in Frank Lampard's garden.
They've scored 14 in the last 4 games of Chelsea, so and they've only conceded the 1 goal. And I guess if you're going to concede as well, concede in the first 10 minutes and not in the last minute as they did against Southampton, you've got 18 minutes to recover, and they did that. And Frank will be very happy that they were able to turn that game around and win it convincingly as well.
Well, it was going to be a long time. I think you looked at Chris Wilder, and he probably thought in his heart, he celebrated for 30 seconds and then thought, oops, it might be a bit early. We've gone 1 up, but Chelsea, they didn't panic at all. They just kept playing and plugging away. They do look very, very exciting, I've got to say.
Finally, on the weekend action, Manchester City, Liverpool. First half was terrific. Second half, did both managers kind of lock the door and say, we'll take a point each? It's been a busy week, Champions League for them both. They go away to the international break now. Was that a typical, let's keep what we've got, lads? Certainly for Liverpool, because De Bruyne missed a penalty as well, didn't he?
Yeah, certainly for Liverpool. I mean, it was a scintillating game. First half, it was wonderful. It really was. It was end to end. Both teams sort of played a bit slightly different. Certainly Liverpool did in their shape. They went out there and played a little bit with a more of a 4 across midfield, and which they haven't done for a long time. It was a little bit different, lopsided when they got the ball, but you just felt that second half they just cancelled each other out. If anything, City needed to sort of advance and go a little bit more adventurous to try and win the game, but Liverpool just sat there and thought, in the end, you know what, we'll take this result, and if we get something and nick something on the break, we'll do it. But and I think if it was later on, going back to the Grand National scenario, as I'm saying, if it was later on and there was only 4 or 5 fences to go, I think you'd have really seen City. They'd have had to go gung ho for it. They didn't quite do that. So early in the season, they're thinking, why try and go for it and give 3 points away to Liverpool now, and they would be uncatchable in many ways for them. I think there would be 7 points difference if they'd have gone. So that would have been a disaster for them. So I think they had one eye on that as well. But it was a shame because every neutral was expecting the second half to be the same as the first half, and it wasn't. It got a little bit stale, didn't it? But for all the other clubs, for all those other clubs that have been top of the league, as we've said, and all thinking like they might have half a chance here and there, the 1-1 draw is a great draw for them. A point each for City and Liverpool, and it was it keeps everyone in the hunt.
This episode is brought to you by Rainbow Sports Group. Rainbow Sports Group are a leading football infrastructure platform looking to discover and nurture the best young African talent. The CEO, Kingsley Pungong, is an agent, club owner, academy owner, and a huge investor in promoting African football. He sees philanthropy as part of his business model and is intent on leaving a lasting legacy for African football. For more information, visit rainbow-sports.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn@midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Let's have a look forward to next weekend. Of course, no Premier League next weekend. It's another international break. A big game, though, for England coming up. When you were England manager, you'd been looking forward to a big week like this. What, as a club manager, though, is it frustrating to see half of your squad going away down the road, certainly in these times when travel is not ideal? And I know A few clubs are not sending their players. I think Christensen's not going to the Danish squad, for example, because of the COVID. Is it a worrying time as a manager of a club, but terrific for the manager of a country?
Well, I've had the pleasure of doing both, obviously, and it's a really difficult one because Gareth Southgate today or over this weekend would have had that's his hardest weekend. He's sitting there, he's picked his squad, and now he's thinking, he's crossed his legs, he's crossed his fingers, and he's just looking at the game wherever he is. But all his scouts will be going to the other games, and it'll be on that phone straight after the game, or he'll be watching the television of matches, and he's thinking, he saw Trent Alexander-Arnold, and it looks like he's pulled a calf muscle. Straight away you think, wow, Rashford went down and fell on his shoulder yesterday. So this is what your international manager's going through when you're the international manager, and you don't get your players all the time. Obviously, as I've said before, it's like leasing the car. You don't own the car when you're a manager for England. So you're just praying and hoping that they're going to arrive. So he'll be going right through the list of players, hoping that they've all come through, and they haven't. They normally don't. I think when I was England manager, I only once did I put a squad out that everyone actually attended and turned up, and that was for the Italian game in Rome. Strangely enough, probably the most important one. So it was tough. It was really tough on you as an international manager, but as a club manager, you don't really, you want them to have rest. If you're really, really honest, you would never stop. I would never, ever, ever, ever stop a player from going to play for their country, because I played for my country. I knew what it meant to me. I would never stop a player. But deep in your heart, you're just hoping that they train correctly, all the habits they do, that they're going to be fine, that they're going to be looked after, and that they get through the games, and they don't get injured. It's all about injuries. You want, if you're English, you want England to do well, of course, but sometimes, these players are foreigners, they're going off to other teams. You're not too worried about the result, to be honest. You're just hoping and being a little bit selfish, the fact that you just want your players back. Yeah. And nowadays, I don't know how many for Tottenham or Chelsea, it's mainly, there's not many players left back home, and the training becomes a little bit spasmodic. If you're not an international player nowadays in the Premier League, for some country, you're left to train with the youngsters or the development team, and it's quite strange. Yes, you can get a break, you can get a little bit of a rest. I think what it is, deep down, some of the club managers quite like the little 2-week break where they can have a rest. Right. The staff and themselves can get injured players back, but they can almost mentally, Chris, switch off and have a little bit of a break and start, have the first 4 or 5 days where they can switch their minds off, do something different with the family, or which is very difficult now because of lockdown, obviously. But you see what I'm saying? You need sometimes, get away from football, and then the back end of that week, and then there's a week or 8 days, you've got a chance to study videos of players and your team, and then you start to build up for the back end of the week when they're coming back. And then it's ridiculous in a way because they come back from international duty, and suddenly you've got a game maybe on a Saturday when you get them flying in on a Friday from South America, and you don't know whether they're fit, whether they've got a knock, whether they've played well. You know the result. Don't know whether they've played well, whether their state of mind is great. So suddenly you've had all that time off, 2 weeks, and then suddenly it's bang bang. You've got to prepare a team for your next vital 3 points in the Premier League, and that's the life of an England manager, and that's the life of a club manager.
Bearing that in mind, then, the big game is next Sunday, Belgium-England in Brussels, 7:45 kickoff. So the podcast will be out a little bit earlier next Sunday for episode 10, because we're going to preview that game, obviously, on the day. But what's the point of having an England against the Republic of Ireland, who are replacing New Zealand, on Thursday? Is that purely to look at the substitute players, the reserve players that have their chance? Because you don't want the players to be fresh for next Sunday, do you?
No, I think it's an extra game that you're getting, and it's valuable for Gareth and his staff, without a doubt. And it's an international game, and whenever you pull on that shirt for England, as a player, I certainly did it with pride, whether it was playing against anyone, doesn't matter. But that's where club managers will be thinking and hoping, oh dear, hope no one plays in all three of them games, and they protect them a little bit. But I think it'll be more for the tactical side. I think it'll be more for looking at a few of the squad members. Don't forget, Gareth has got to start planning and looking for the summer. He's got the Euros coming up, and every single minute on the pitch of international football should be precious, and it should be precious to the player, and it should be precious to the manager to learn something about his players. He doesn't know them inside out. He needs to see them under a little bit more pressure than training. He needs to see them in game situation. It's not competitive, of course, but it is one step further than the training ground. So you're learning more about your players all in all, because he doesn't have them as much as a club manager, obviously.
Yeah.
So, it's important, but I used to look at them and think, well, if we played well, and we really played well, and even if we drew or lost, but we really performed well, and we did the things that I wanted the players to do, the shape, whatever it was, and some individuals hit me right between the eyes and thought, oh, yeah, he did well there today. He can go up the pecking order on where what I'm looking for. There's opportunities there without a doubt for players to really, really impress the manager. So that's what those games are all about, really. If you lose, you lose. Obviously, when you're an England manager, every game is very important. You can get lambasted, even if you lose a friendly, but it's not hurting you. You're not losing 3 points, or you're not lost a qualifying match, or whatever it may be. So yes, it's important, but not overly important. Just really looking at the squad players and building something towards the summer.
So it's England against Republic of Ireland on Thursday at Wembley, and then Belgium against England next Sunday, 7:45 kickoff in Brussels. The following Wednesday, England are due to play Iceland again in the Nations League, but there's the question mark because of the COVID situation in Iceland and Denmark. They're due to play each other on the weekend, and the Brits are not sure if they're going to let the Icelandic team in, and that would be a bit of a disaster, because apparently they're not going to reschedule the game. So we'll have to see how that one's going to develop, because I don't know who's at fault. Are England at fault by not playing it, or Iceland at fault by not being able to turn up? Well, that's one for UEFA and FIFA to worry about, I guess.
I'm glad you're not asking me, Chris.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, that's not my decision. But it's unprecedented times.
Yeah,
this is unusual, and obviously the FA have got to step in and try and sort that out with UEFA. But it is what it is, and how they do that, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So
well, we saw it with Leyton Orient Tottenham, didn't we? In one of the cups, I think the League Cup, Leyton Orient couldn't play the game, and they had to forfeit the match in the end. Tottenham got a bye, so I don't know who gets the 3 points. England, Iceland. It might not matter, because Iceland down at the bottom of the table, but it might matter. We'll see. Next week's the Masters Golf. I can't believe you're not playing in it. Not got an invite this year, Glenn. Or what happened? Augusta in November. In
November, that's going to be really strange. I was due to go. It was one of my bucket list things, and I said to BT and I said to everyone that I'm going to go and watch the Masters. What happened to me a couple of years ago? There's a few things I was saying that I want to do this. I'm going to put this. It's something I wanted to do all my life. So I was due to go, and then that's got cancelled because of COVID, and now they're playing in November, and that's going to be a bit strange, actually. The Masters is, it's an incredible tournament anyway, and the traditions and the conditions of the course are quite incredible. Whether it's not going to be quite the same without the crowd, of course, but it's not going to be the same without those beautiful flowers and the way the course is set out. It is a stunning course, and I would love to play it one day, but I want to go and watch so I'm hoping I can get there in April if everything is opened up again. But us who like golf, we're lucky, really. We're going to have 2 Masters within sort of 5 months, so that can't be bad.
Anyone you fancy early stages for this one?
Not yet. It's very difficult to pick that. That's a little bit like the Grand National, isn't it? The Masters.
Oh, not another hurdle race, crikey.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, there's so many good players now out there.
Well, we'll have to do a Cheltenham preview at this stage. Then
But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll have a little bet on it. I like a little bet on. I don't bet much, but I do like my golf to have a little punt and not too serious. But I'll have a little look at their rhythms, and I'll see where.
Don't back Rory this time, Glenn. You're throwing your money away. McIlroy's not going to win it.
Well,
save your cash.
You never know.
I'll take it off you. Now, next week you're going to do a bit of work as well, watching England. Is it under 21s? You're going to be watching them in action. So that'll be good to see the young players that are coming through. Although a lot of young players are already in the first squad, aren't they? With Gareth.
Yeah, that's very true. There is another crop of good youngsters coming through, but we say that a lot at under 21 level and under 18 level and whatever. That bridge between that age group of 19, 20, because a lot of them are 19 and 20 years of age, to getting into the senior squad has always been tough. It's always been difficult, but the FA and the England situation, the setup, they seem to be breaking through a little bit more actually. When you look at the players that are in there now, and there are some youngsters there that have got a bright future. They really have if they continue. It's about getting enough games. It's about getting enough games at senior level to see whether. I'll give you an example. There's a really good midfield player, I think, attacking midfield player at Arsenal, Joe Willock, who should be in the under 21s, in my opinion. It's only my opinion, but I think he's a really good talent. I think he'll score goals for fun. He likes to get in the box. He's got a lovely guile about him, sees pictures, good vision, brave with the ball. But he's not in the under 21s getting that experience because he's not playing. He has played for them, but because he's not in the first team at Arsenal at the moment, he's a classic example of someone that's having to be sort of held back. And Foden, it happened to a little bit. He's now getting his moments at Man City. For me, not enough. But he's in your senior squad now. So if you understand what I'm saying, there's a lot of talent out there because they're not playing at senior level, or they should be going on loan. Arsenal not going to put them in. Let them go out on loan. Use other countries like they've been doing. Chelsea do it very well. But let them go to Germany and because they're good enough, and other countries, France, whatever, in normal circumstances, get them playing. And if he was playing in a senior team somewhere, he'd be in that squad, and he would then be progressing. It doesn't, you've got to have the vision to see whether, with good players around him and better players around him, he's going to be even better. Because he's not playing at the moment, he's only playing in Europa games. It's a fallacy. I think there's talent out there, and we've got to bring it on as quickly as we can. And but I'm really looking forward to it. I watched them against Turkey, and at times they were really good in the first half. And at that age, it's all about learning the game, and they lost the reins of the game in the second half, and they really put themselves under too much pressure, to be honest. So it's a real learning curve at that age. And I remember back playing for the under 21s, I loved it, and it was there was games where you didn't play so well, and you were wondering why you weren't playing so well, because there was a multitude of reasons, and you become a better player after playing at that level.
Well, we look forward to hearing your thoughts on some of the younger players from the England squad. I think they're playing Andorra, aren't they?
The games are not the strongest. They've got Andorra, and I think they've got Albania, but who knows, World football, you never know, do you? But no, these boys have got to go out and perform for themselves and for their country, and that's the number one priority.
Well, make sure you join us next Sunday. It'll be episode 10 of the podcast, the international break, and it will be a little bit earlier because we're going to preview that Belgium-England big game next Sunday evening. So we look forward to all of that, and we look forward to hearing what kind of England future players are going to be coming through.
Well, it'd be a great night of sport for me, because I'll be flicking that remote control after the football. It'll be straight onto the Masters, because it's the final round, isn't it, Sunday? So I think there'll be a few other thousands of people doing that as well.
Should be a lot of fun. We look forward to it next Sunday. That will be episode 10. Make sure you join us, and we'll be available a little bit earlier than 8:30 next week.
That's all for today. See you next week.